With the expansion of a 12-team playoff in 2024, we're going to see some new faces enter the conversation about potentially hoisting up a national title. And it's early in the process, and a lot of things can happen via the transfer portal, the recruiting trail, players leaving for the NFL. But it's hard not to be optimistic right now when looking in Oxford, Mississippi about what Ole Miss is planning to do heading into next season. Let's talk about the recent moves by the Rebels and what could be a breakout season for Lane Kiffin in 2024. If you are new here, welcome on into the channel. My name is Cole Thompson. I'm a radio show host based in Houston, and I talk college football daily. So this is the type of content you enjoy, plus anything going on with coaching searches, transfer portal moves, bowl eligibility, and a bunch of other nonsense. Make sure you smash that subscribe button down below. Leave a comment telling me your thoughts on the future of the Ole Miss Rebels. Tell your friends, your family, your mortal enemies, your best of bros, your entire church congregation, your workout buddies, and every Ole Miss fan out there under the sun about this channel. Give me a follow on social media at Mr. Cole Thompson. It's the exact same as my YouTube handle. That way, the conversation of college football never stops. Ole Miss is trending up, baby. I don't know if you have seen the recent news that's been coming out of Oxford, but this is a team that has actual viable expectations to at least be in the mix for a college football playoff spot. That doesn't mean they're going to win the SEC. That doesn't mean that they're going to finally make it to Atlanta, but with the expansion of the playoff, you don't have to worry about those nuances anymore. You don't have to go ahead and punch your ticket to the SEC championship just for you to have a shot of winning the national title. You can lose a game during the regular season and still stay the course and very idle in the running to make it to the dance. And Ole Miss, 10-2 this past year, this was the baseline. This is now the new formality underneath Lane Kiffin, because it's one thing to have a breakout season and then kind of regress. And we saw that a little bit in 2022. 2021, have a star quarterback in Matt Corral, very good rushing attack, very nuanced season wide receivers. You go 10-2 during the regular season, you go to the Sugar Bowl. Next year, you lose Matt Corral. You bring in Jackson Dart. You bring in some other transfers like Zach Evans, and you get Quinshon Judkins in the mix. But it's a retooling year. Now you're 8-5. This year, go back to the transfer portal, keep Jackson Dart. You see constant growth and progress and potential. And now this team is 10-2, and they have a shot of finishing with 11 wins for the first time in program history if they can beat Penn State in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. But it's all about how you grow, baby. That's the key element here. It's not about just having one great season and then taking a step back. It's how do we take that next step forward? And Lane Kiffin, like it or not, the man is the portal king. And until someone finds a way to surpass him, Mike Norvell's probably the portal duke, if we want to be completely real. But until that day comes, we're talking about Lane Kiffin's ability to convince players, proven names, to come to Ole Miss. And now he's doing it even further by keeping players back for another season. Not sure if you saw the news recently, but Jordan Watkins, one of their star wide receivers, is coming back next year. Caden Prieskorn, their starting tight end, he's coming back next year. Countless defensive players, including J.J. Pegas, is coming back next year. And on Monday, leading receiver Trey Harris, who joined the team via the transfer portal last year, is expected to come back for 2024. So let me just get this straight for everybody out there who doesn't understand. Trey Harris was a breakout star this past season. If you go back and you watch the very first game of the season, it was a game where you thought that maybe Trey Harris was going to be a Biletnikoff finalist. He was wheeling and dealing, over 130 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns, then suffered an injury, so kind of took a step back a little bit, missed 2.5 games, left in the Tulane game, comes back, has a 200-yard performance against Vanderbilt, and he finishes with over 800 receiving yards. Not to mention, you still have Jordan Watkins, really solidified number 2 receiver. Not to mention, Caden Prieskorn gets a big touchdown in the Egg Bowl, starts to show what his ability and his adaptability to this offense can be. You're not losing Quinshon Judkins, back-to-back 1,000-yard rusher, who was averaging roughly around 5.6 yards per play this past year, and last year rushed for over 7 yards per play. Oh, and all that's left is Jackson Dart. And if I'm Jackson Dart right now, I'm thinking 2 things. Number 1, what is my draft status? Am I going to be a solidified number 1 pick or even a first-round pick? Am I going to be able to put my numbers and production alongside guys like Jaden Daniels, like Caleb Williams, like Drake May, like even Bo Nix and Michael Penix, who probably are day 2 players? Or do I see what's coming back to Oxford and realize this is a shot for us to make Rebels history? I could be the first quarterback ever to lead Ole Miss to a college football playoff and maybe even a college football playoff win. And I look at the receiving core that's coming back, and I look at the offensive line that's coming back. It doesn't seem like Charlie Wise is going anywhere anytime soon. You know the offense to a T. Your defense looks like it's improving underneath Pete Golding heading into year 2. And now, with no conferences, no divisions, you have the opportunity just to be one of the best teams in the SEC. Don't need to be an elite team, just need to be one of the better ones. Top 3, top 4, like you were this past year. A lot of people did not expect Ole Miss to be this good in 2023. I think people expected 8-4. I think a lot of people maybe expected 9-3, but 10-2 with wins over LSU, wins over Texas A&M, wins over Tulane, even on the road. You got to expect those to be moves that actually trend upward. And by the way, now that you have a certain criteria about what you're trying to do and what you're trying to implement, and the offense isn't changing, you understand I have the relationship and a reality and an expectation with these players. I can be good next year. Oh, and I also could end up boosting my draft status. Maybe a Davey O'Brien Award, maybe a Maxwell Award, maybe even a trip to New York City for the Heisman Trophy. So Jackson Dart comes back. You're retaining your number 1 running back, 3 of your 4 leading receivers, your starting quarterback, your starting offensive coordinator, your head coach, and your starting defensive coordinator. Not to mention a ton of guys who are still coming in via the portal. Don't look now, but there is a wide receiver that potentially is going to replace Dayton Wade, who was the number 3 this past year, and he may be an upgrade over everybody besides Harris, and even then. Juice Wells, South Carolina. Go look at the crystal ball predictions. My people are telling me that it does feel like he is a fit down in Oxford. That would be your Dayton Wade replacement. And look at that. Now you're adding in a premier wide receiver who already has reps in the SEC, a proven commodity to pair alongside your other proven commodities. And slowly but surely, in a 12-team playoff, Ole Miss looks susceptible to getting a win. Maybe 2, maybe 3. It's crazy. It really is crazy. And by the way, the reason why we're even here is because of what Lane Kiffin understands. Kiffin is the ultimate wheeler and dealer when it comes to realizing expectations. Expectations are never going to change in the SEC. You, me, your mother, your friends, your brother, they could all believe that teams are supposed to be really good or be acceptable at 8-4. But the expectations in the SEC is we want to be alongside the Alabamas. We want to be alongside the Georgias of the world. We want to be on the come up like Tennessee was. We want to be what Missouri did this past year. That's us, and we only expand on it. And the best way to do so is when you can't land talent via the recruiting trail, you go get proven names via the portal. And that's all Kiffin's done. Every year, Kiffin has been able to bring in quality players on both sides of the football and then get them even more prepared to make it in the NFL. That's his MO. That's what he's done. And he understands it. I can't beat Nick Saban and I can't beat Kirby Smart when it comes to landing 5 stars, but I'll be damn sure if I don't take those 5 stars when they're ready to enter the portal. And I'm going to utilize them to my advantage. And I'm going to get them on my roster. And I'm going to make them prepared the way that you did, but just with more production. That's Kiffin's MO. And that's something that Kiffin is loyal to a T with, and it's his bread and butter. And the guy is good. The guy is really good at being able to get players to come to Oxford. And once you go to the SIP is sipping on a shot of maybe making it to a national championship in the not so distant future. This is a team that's going to be top 10 next year in the high AP polls. When the preseason comes out and you look at the names that were retained and you look at the talent that's back in Oxford, this will be a team that we are talking about in the top 10. And they have a shot with their schedule to potentially make it to 11-1. And 11-1, that might be enough, regardless of who you play, to go to Atlanta. And if you're in Atlanta, it's going to be very hard for the College Football Playoff Committee looking at the SEC and saying, nope, 11-2, not good enough. Now, Ole Miss this past year would have been in a college football playoff scenario if they just expanded to 12. They'd be the 11 seed. So they already had their shot this year. They're a team on the come up. They're not a team on the come down. This was not a one-year wonder fluke. This is a team with all the potential to be someone to monitor in 2023. I like the future of the Rebels. I really do. I like what they're building. I like what they're able to bring in terms of proven commodities. And I like the way that Kiffin's able to get the best version of players who are just looking for a second shot. Kiffin is one of the ultimate redemption stories in college football. Learned underneath Nick Saban, humbled himself, got back to his ways, and now he's building an identity and a long-standing rich culture in Oxford. And he's building it with the right amount of players. He knows how to work the transfer portal exactly in his favor. And I'll be hard-pressed to say that Ole Miss is not a team that's going to find their way into college football playoff conversations come early next year. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching that video. Don't hit the X button yet. Make sure you hit subscribe to keep up with all of our daily content found on Just Saying It and anything else that we post on this channel. Bye.